Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Ask Jonathan. Before I get into this week's question, I just wanted to say thank you guys and girls out there and everybody that's posted questions. Thank you so much for actually posting them. And, I'm having a blast doing this stuff, and I'm glad some of you guys are getting some stuff out of it, too. If you guys did have any other questions, I feel like at the same time, when I reply to a question, I see a couple questions that keep repeating, and I don't mean to overlook them. It's just sometimes somebody asks a question I really want to tackle. I think that it's pretty interesting stuff. However, if you guys can come up with any other ideas outside of making new videos or whatever of how I can reply to some of these questions, by all means, leave them under there. And if your question isn't being answered, feel more than free to copy and paste it under each video until eventually I get to it, or I take the hint that that's the question you guys and girls want answered. But anyway, again, thank you so much, and we'll get into this week's question. Okay, so this one is by Mathel07, and he or she asks, do you think people need to go to an art school to get a job in art? Or can people just get a good job if they have amazing drawing skills? It's an excellent question, an awesome question. I've had to deal with answering this a couple times. I used to be a part of a podcast called the Sketchbook Podcast, and I don't believe it's still up, but you guys can check. I'll do a quick search before I upload the video to see if it's online, and if it is, I'll link you guys to that. And in that one, there was like an hour-long discussion that myself, a good buddy of mine, Charlie Harper, and we were just talking about Josh Bauman. Sorry, he was in it as well. I didn't want to leave him out of it. All three of us, we were kind of talking about a question that somebody had sent us, very similar to this one, where it's like, I know I felt like this too, maybe on the opposite side, where when I was growing up, for some reason, not in a conceited way, but I thought I was better than what I actually was. I can look at my stuff that I do now, compare it to what I did way back then, and I was not ready. Even though at that time, I thought that I was. I would, in a very, nose up in the air kind of thing, look at comic books, and there were certain artists that were out there that I thought I could draw better than. Now, maybe I could. I don't know. It's all opinion based, right? But the problem is that there's the whole. I've talked about this in the last Ask video as well. There's this entire underlining thing that nobody really talks about when they're telling you what you need to be, or not what you need to be, but what you should be brain-wise when you're trying to get into comics, where it's not just if you can draw amazing pictures. That's going to help. That's going to help 150%. But it's how are you as a business person? How reliable are you? How quick can you turn these pages around? Can you color 5 pages a day? Can you pencil 2 pages a day? Can you pencil even a page a day? Can you do 1 piece of completed art a day? From what I hear, that's the standard kind of stuff for like Marvel and DC. However, in indie comics, it's a little different because most of us, and that's, I just want to clarify, the world that I'm in right now is not the big publishers. I'm in the independent comics world. So the deadlines and things, they're a lot more lax, and it's more based on you as the artist and the individual, because it's representative of if you can do quality work on a regular basis, then you'll continually get more work. So deadlines and things are more on you, and you have to be disciplined for that stuff, and that takes time. I'm still working on it. I'm not where I would like to be, and I hope nobody out there, you guys, and I say this all the time, try not to get comfortable. Challenge yourself. Don't get disappointed in yourself all the time, because then you'll never want to do anything. You'll have to look at what you're doing and what you're trying to get and see that there's incremental, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, that your challenges that you're setting up for yourself are becoming achieved. That you can see, your dreams actually becoming reality in the smallest way. Like even if you want to work for Marvel or DC, but you don't work for them today. One of your dreams that you might not have talked about or really thought too much about was, damn, I wish I could draw hands better. And if you looked at it, you probably are drawing hands better. And so yeah, I know I'm drifting again off the question, but it's going back to the thing where, do I think you have to go to school? The short answer is no. I don't think anybody has to go to school for anything. There are certain things that some people will teach you through school, and there's people that you'll meet that'll change the way you think, but that doesn't necessarily happen at school all the time. You could be at work and you can meet somebody that you guys just click, and then maybe somebody will start introducing you to something that's not even art related, but something else that makes you just think of things differently in life. And art's the exact same way. You don't have to go to school to be an artist. And there's a lot of people that do go to art school because they're talented and stuff, like they can draw, but they just show up. Never be that person that just shows up. If you're going to pay that money, go there and be the best that you can be. You know, learn from other people, teach other people, and just do that over and over again, and you're going to be better. Don't go there and waste your time just to throw money away. That's such a stupid thing you can do. It's just to throw your money away. If you're in school and you feel like this isn't what I want to do, this isn't the the genre of art I want to do, then drop out. You know, your parents might be disappointed in you. You might be disappointed, but you got to ask these tough questions for you, because as an artist, I mean, if you're hoping to be surrounded by money, I don't know what to tell you. There's a few people that actually get to do it. Most of us, again, going back to the independent stuff, again, talking about the deadlines, is we work day jobs. We work part-time jobs. You know, we work just regular jobs just so that we can live in a place, so I can get electricity, so I can afford pieces of paper, you know, to actually draw on. But you're doing it because you love it, because of that passion, right? So if going to school is going to help you, do it. Just don't forget that passion that's going to get you to where you got to go. And really quickly, just to talk briefly about like my background with the schooling and stuff is, all throughout high school, I graduated art, obviously, but I failed every year, and I was fortunate enough to have the teacher that I had, and he basically kept passing me. He knew I had an interest in art. The thing is, I didn't want to do painting. Well, you do little things like carving out rubber to turn into a stamp. Like I knew when I was a teenager that I wanted to do concept art and comic books. That's what I wanted to do. Whether it was concept art for video games, you know, I would look at things like Blizzard Entertainment, their style of characters, and just the way they would create worlds and stuff. And I started to find out, you know, you look at movies like Blade Runner and all those like 80s sci-fi and 70s sci-fi stuff like Total Recall, RoboCop, Terminator, Predator, Aliens, you know, the list goes on. All that stuff is just cool. You know, like how can you make that? How do you go about thinking about that? And when I was growing up, a lot of it was just like, you know, you'd be playing around one day and you'd be like, oh, cool, Plastic Man, you know, or something. And you'd make Plastic Man, and that's just how, that's why superheroes click for me. And I'm sure most of you people out there as well. However, there comes a moment where it's like, there's got to be a better way to come up with ideas. And then I tried it in my primitive way. And the internet really wasn't as awesome as it is now. It really didn't exist, so I had to go to the library and try to find art books, concept art books, which was difficult as hell, at least where I was living. And I think I found like 2 at most. And most of them were like sketchbooks, like Frank Frazetta. He just had like a sketchbook of stuff. And I'm like, it changed the way I thought, where it's not necessarily how you create something, it's just create something. And as you keep working on it, it'll get better. And you'll start to, ideas come from ideas. And if you can surround yourself with ideas, whether it's yours or other people, if you can surround yourself by other people coming up with ideas, man, you got it made in the shade. But yeah, long-winded. So I basically got through high school because my art teacher let me. That's about it. And then in my last year, grade 12, one of the local colleges came by and they were trying to pitch their course. It was called Tradigital Animation, and it's a splash on traditional and digital animation. And they were saying crazy elaborate things, which to me now kind of come across as red flags. I know there are people, some friends that I did make in college, that went on to actually work in animation houses and stuff, but at least at the high school and the presentation they gave me, they were like saying things like, oh, you know, Disney actually comes here and picks us up. It's basically like a taking off point for all these big media houses. And for any of us out there that have worked in the independent world, a lot of people like to offer back-end pay. And I'm not going to dig anybody that's, if you're out there and you have offered back-end pay, I can't slight anybody. Not everybody has money. How you guys make projects, you know, you got to give and take and stuff. But that's kind of like where the little angle that now that I'm looking at it, they kind of came at. But so I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do art. I wanted to do something with art. I knew I loved comic books. I was always, you know, kind of sketchy characters and stuff, not actually working on comic book pages, but like pinups and stuff. And so, yeah, I went in there, got accepted, and I did my portfolio literally the night before, and I sent it off. That's how much I was really disciplined back then. I really wasn't. So I sent it off, and I got approved. I went to college, and it was great. I met a lot of awesome people, a lot of people I still keep in contact with. And yeah, but it was a 3-year course, and I dropped out a 1.5 years into it. And I don't want to spend too much time on why. Maybe we can, if anybody's interested, we can go to like a little deeper history or whatever kind of thing. But it wasn't clicking with me. I didn't like animating. I didn't like animating. I like animation. I like watching cartoons. I love watching that stuff. But that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be the guy that would create it all. You know, and that might sound a little conceited and, you know, like, ooh, who's this guy? You know, again with the nose up in the air kind of stuff. But you know, I think you know at a young age when you're creative, when you have things that you want to be able to do. And for me, that's what the beauty of comic books is that it can be anything. You can create literally anything, any story you want. You can write it. You might not be the best writer. You might literally suck. You can do a comic book with no writing at all, just pictures. How cool is that? You know, it's like a silent film. The only thing it lacks is sound, you know, but we got sound effects and stuff. So yeah, I dropped out, and during that time I had met a comic book artist that was actually in the industry. A long twisted twist there where he actually worked for Marvel at the time, and I literally lived across the street from him. How crazy is that? And he invited me over, and I would hang out with him, and I learned so much. I learned so much from watching him just work. Not necessarily the business side of it, but just seeing how he drew, you know, how this guy was able to draw anatomy out of, like, it was totally different than how I learned how to draw anatomy. And he basically corrected me and put me on the path that I wish I was on since the beginning of high school, kind of thing. You know, you don't want to go in the past too much about going like, oh, I wish I did this, and you know, I'd be better here and there. Don't live like that. Just know what happened and be aware of it to change it and what you're going to do going forward and stuff. So all that was happening, and we kind of lost contact and stuff. But since then, it's just been. He taught me really that the only way you're going to get better at comics is to draw comics. It's not that difficult. So how can I relate this back to your question? Do you need to go to art school to get an art job to be a successful artist? No, because to be a successful artist, all you need to do is create art. That's it. There's no magical pixie dust. There's no magical thing you need to do. Just draw your ass off, write your ass off, color, whatever it is you like to do. Do it constantly, all the time, as much as you can. And if you're lucky, if you do all that stuff, if you're lucky, you'll actually make a living off of it. And the chances of making a living off art are very slim. So you got to find the little things in what you're doing that you love. For me, for comic books, I'm sure a lot of it comes through with what I try to show you guys and how I talk about them. But just being able to create anything to me is like, I don't know, that's like, imagine you can dream anything you want and then you could share it with people. And not just, you know, vocally, but you can just create it and give it to somebody. And they might hate it. That's fine. But it's there, you know. I don't know. There's something magical about comics, and at least it's tickling my fancy. I know a lot of you guys out there, you might not like comics and stuff, which is, hey, that's cool. You guys might be coming to my stuff to look at, like, just techniques and stuff, like my earlier stuff with the anatomies and all that stuff. But let me just reread your question here myself. I just want to make sure I didn't... yeah, and I don't want to knock school too much. You know, there's a heavy burden and price that comes with for money. That's a big deal. If you can afford it, do it. If you're going to go in debt, I don't know. Times are different now. You know, debt is a huge thing. And I hear too many people talking about like, oh, if it gets too crazy, just go bankrupt, you know, and start over. That's another topic we could talk about there. But if you got the money to do it, if you're stable for the next 2 to 3 years or however long your art course is, you know, research it. Just research it. Ask people that are actually in it. See where they're going, you know. Just always ask questions. I guess that's the best way I can answer it. Whether you're going to go in art school or not, ask questions and work your butt off. That's it. So yeah, without rambling on and going back to the same points I already had, hopefully that answered your question. If not, I'm sorry. Just leave, again, another comment in the bottom if you guys have a question or comment that you guys like me to tackle. And we'll see you next week. So take care, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and we'll talk to you next time. See you later.